All right, let's talk about the Nats. They're just legitimately on fire here. I guess they're scoring runs like crazy. The only sort of wrinkle here is their early rock in the bullpen has now faltered. They've put him on the injured list. They say it's a knee. I think more than anything, the guy just needs a mental health break, and maybe a physical break too. How do you see this sort of playing out? We found it curious that Davey promised him his closing job when he comes back. But if Hudson saves 4 in a row and they're just not missing a beat, is he really going to do that? Make him the primary closer again? Or is it going to be more of a closer by committee situation?
Yeah, it's really tough. And yesterday in Pittsburgh, Sean said he's that role. And while the manager giving him that vote of confidence, he's like, well, I need to earn that. I need to pitch like a closer in order to be one. He's not wedded to it. I mean, I think he's the perfect guy to sort of do this with. He's not a career specialist. If you're going to have somebody back there, and an ego too, I mean, just mixing that in, he's the guy. He's not going to – I think there are a lot of closers around baseball who, if you even consider pitching them outside the ninth, they would probably toss their glove and, be out of the stadium, before you even had a chance to put them in. He's not one of those guys. So I think in that regard, it's a good person to tinker with. I do not think he's set, penciled in, penned in as the closer the rest of the way. I think that's something you say to avoid having a storyline of, him losing the job. At the same time, I do think he'll get a shot at it. I don't think he's going to come back and be a setup man, even if Daniel Hudson or Hunter Strickland has, a really good week or whoever it may be. I think Sean will get a shot in that role. And if he's good, they'll ride that hot hand. There could be a lot of energy there. I do think that doing it in this stretch, in these 10 days, was really strategic and smart, too. Obviously it was spurred by the fact that he was terrible on Saturday night, and they Pirates who are terrible. You have 3 with the Cubs series, then you have 2 with the Orioles and 2 off days, and then the Marlins come to town. So if he can be good by the start of September, and when the Mets and Braves, you play them, then you're in good shape.
So Joe Ross was cruising along last night. Then the comebacker gets him. Luckily, they dodge a bullet. X-rays were negative. What's the plan with him going forward? Any word on I'm guessing he's not going to miss his next start. What's the latest on Joe Ross?
Yeah, there were 2 sort of dodges of bullets there. The X-rays were negative. Also, the ball misses right back to the guy's shin. It'll probably be what they're calling a contusion, a big bruise, some swelling. They'll have to wait till it goes down. I don't think he'll miss his next start, but at the same time, these things going to have a mind of their own. It's hard to know if what's going to happen, and I stay away from injury predictions. But the Nats have options there. They could use either him or Eric Fetty next time through, because one of those guys is going to be bumped out of the rotation for Max Scherzer. It was looking like Ross had a strong role on that out. That's his 4th consecutive really good start. It's a shame that now that's a little bit, in question because the ball hits him in the leg. But other than that, I would say the Nationals should be really encouraged by the fact that one of those guys really took command of that, because Eric Fetty's been pretty good too. But I think if you were choosing between the lesser of 2 evils in that situation, you probably are kind of like, man, this kind of stinks, But Joe Ross really, established himself, and that was really good.
Jesse, what do you make of this offensive explosion of late? It seems like any fly ball is going out, not just for the Nats. We all know about the juice ball theory, that sort of thing. I assume heat is playing a factor in some of this. But just speaking to the Nats specifically, what do you make of this recent offensive explosion?
Yeah, it's 43 runs in 5 games and 62 in 5, and that's what's in the 5 games. One. So that's the math that has to be done there, but that's a lot of runs in 4 games too. That's right. It's extremely impressive. And I do think that an element of this is the juice balls, the humidity, some of these ballparks or whatever it may be. But at the same time, if the Nats put up the best 5-game stretch since 2007, they're using the juice ball currently better than anybody. And that's worth noting, because if you do sort of think about this as everybody, Adam Eaton got his 11th homer last night. Mavs has his 20th and 59 starts. Guys are clearly hitting home runs at an exorbitant rate in a way that they never have. But if the Nats are taking advantage better than anybody, that still is a really good sign for their offense. It's, this team is clicking in a lot of ways. They're sort of making the closer problem mute at the moment, because they're not even, setting up save opportunities. And I mean, they're going to cool down. This is not sustainable. But 13 runs in 4 of your last 5 games, I mean, that's a hell of a way to come out of that Mets series where you feel like they were kind of sliding downward, and now they're just like, no, that we're still very much here. And I thought during that big 2-month stretch to save their season, that while the start, the offense took constant because you kind of expect the starting pitching to be great, and at that point you expected the bullpen to be rough. But when the offense is clicking, it can sort of hide some of these problems, whether it be starting pitching depth, bullpen depth, whatever it is. I mean, this offense can cover up a lot. And we've seen that the last few days where they've just sort of taken it upon themselves and created some really lopsided games.
It's interesting. We were there for spring training, and everybody was buzzing and talking about how it was a different clubhouse. The vibe was just different. The guys were having fun. I mean, everybody was talking about it. And then they got off to the bad start, and then obviously it's hard to have the greatest clubhouse ever, although Davey maintained that the guys never gave up on each other. They always were positive. But then we didn't really get to see it until they got hot, right? Can you attribute a lot of that to the acquisition of Parra, or was that already in place before?
I think I attribute some of it overall. It's the oldest team in baseball, and mixed in with a few young guys who bring energy like Juan Soto and Victor Robles. So I think that mix was really good from a chemistry perspective from the start. And I agree, being there every day, that the clubhouse did not lose each other. There never was finger pointing. There never was looking across the room and saying things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a lot of opportunity too. I mean, like as you guys know, I mean, there's pretty dark days for this team, and I think Parra has something to do with it. He's brought a lot of energy. He's created a lot of mini traditions within this team. It's been really fun. But at the same time, I think just from the start, the personnel mix was really conducive to having a tight knit group. And one thing I will say is we've talked a lot about chemistry. We've talked a lot about the starting pitching heating up, the team's experience. I mean, these guys got healthy. There was a time this season where they had 5 to 6 starters were out.
Right.
And that's literally impossible to win. I mean, you don't build a team with a contingency plan for Juan Soto, Anthony Rendon, Ryan Zimmerman, Matt Adams, Trey Turner all being out. There's no plan for that.
Right.
And it's to come into a team's depth or say, they weren't ready or built the right way when those guys were out and you're losing. I mean, that's ridiculous. Not that anybody here saying that, but I mean, I think when you talk about turnaround, health is first. I know it's the practical one and sort of the boring one maybe, but health is first. And then, I mean, the atmosphere in the clubhouse and guys like Parra, that certainly comes a close second. And we're still seeing the benefits now. But you're right. When they're winning, it's fun, and it's really easy to see.